Hey, Steck and Star right here with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and this time going over the basics of the Force Keep boss fight. What the minions do, what the boss does, and what you can do to counter those things. Okay, so what we have here, we have two minions in the boss. The left minion is the pain in the butt boss. He will do an AoE heal reduction, which is a hassle. The right minion will throw a defense buff on the boss, and I'll show you why that's both odd and interesting. Okay, so the boss's passive raises his defense to 4,000, which is a lot of defense. So with the right minion buffing him even more, it makes it super irritating to fight the boss when he has the defense buff on top of his passive. The boss's A2 is a 50% chance of placing a stun for one turn. It's an AoE and it can't be resisted, so half and half chance, buddy. His A1 attacks all enemies, has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns, and that also can't be resisted. Another hassle. So he already has an amazing amount of defense, and he's gonna half your attack, and it just makes chipping away at his health bar a very tedious task. So what do we have to counteract that? All right, so first off, I want to strip his debuffs when I can, and I want to buff myself when I can, and I want to debuff myself when I can. Granted, that kind of goes for most boss fights, but we'll go into the particulars of this one. So first, I have Zargala as a team lead, and she brings an accuracy aura, so I don't have to gear so much for accuracy to make sure I land my debuffs. She has a weaken on her A1, and she also has a defense down, which is vital when the boss has so much defense. Tyrell is in there, and he has tremendous amount of utility everywhere he goes. He has a attack down on his A1, a defense down on his A2, and a turn meter down on his A3. He does it all. Hyria is in there because I want people's A1s to be active more often. So her ally attack will have people hopefully place the debuffs on their A1s more often. And she also has a poison, which is just free damage every turn, which I'm a big fan of. Cold Heart is in there strictly for DPS. She has a reduced heal on her A1, but that doesn't matter. It's not going to make any difference. But she has a huge Heartseeker DPS, which does DPS based on the enemy's max hit points, which is also always good on boss fights, and a turn meter reducer. Spirit Host has a tremendous amount of utility in her own right, where she will strengthen my characters and increase their attack by 50%, so that'll help countermand all the debuffs, attack down debuffs he's throwing out on my team. And she can also strip the debuffs and then put a block debuffs on. So she brings a lot to the table. Alright, so I'm going to take this off auto, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, let's let this play out. Okay, Spirit Host leads off, and I'm going to just select the left minion there because the heal reduction is the one I'm most concerned about. Alright, he was not long for this world. Alright, let's get rid of this guy. Right minion's going down. Heartseeker the minion. Oh, that's interesting. AI. Nice, interesting decision. Alright. Both minions are down. Let's deal with the boss. We already got 2 debuffs on him. His attack down and defense down. And now a weaken. Nice to see. Oh, his turn meter missed, though. Tyrell's. But we are really laying into him nicely. And there was a weak hit from Tyrell. He has the opposite affinity. He did it again. Oh, nice big hit from Zargala. Alright, he's going down. He will not last much longer. Alright, so what we had there was a nice, quick boss fight. There's a lot of good synergies happening. Everyone played off each other really, really well. So what more can you ask for? I hope that helped you out. We'll go into some of the farmable heroes that can do similar things momentarily. Alright, stick around for a second. Alright, first off, let's go into the Barbarian section. And when we're in the Deadlands in the campaign, you can farm for a couple different characters, and one of them is War Maiden. You'll see this champion everywhere. She's really good, even if you're not free to play. She has a poison on her A1. Granted, it's a weak poison, but it's free damage every turn. She has an extra attack possibility on her A2, and her A3 is where the defense down is. 75% chance. And it's the big version. It's the 60% defense down. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but you can get it down to 3 with books, which is super reasonable. She's just a really good champion in general, and she does well in the Force Keep. While you're in the Deadlands farming for her, you might get a shield guard to drop, and he has a passive where he will strip a debuff from himself. It's at the end of the turn, so if he gets debuffed, he might still stay debuffed for a turn, but still, that's really good. It's a passive, so it just happens all the time. And he also has decent A1 and A2s too. 30% chance of a 15% decreased speed, and his A2 attacks is an AoE and fills champion's turn meter by 20% on each critical hit, which is insane and awesome. So Deadlands are great, War Maiden and Shield Guard, and both of them do really well in the Force Keep. Alright, let's continue with the defense down subject. Now, there's one I don't really want to talk about, but he's farmable, so I'll just mention the Hound Spawn. Generally, I just use this guy for food, but he does have, is it his A2 or is it? Yeah, his A2, 50% chance of placing the 60% defense down, and that is what we're talking about and what we're looking for. He has no other utility other than that, however, so, but he's farmable, and if you are having trouble, he can help you. Alright, then over in the Undead Hordes, we have another farmable defense down champion in Sorceress. Catacombs of Narbuk is where you will find her. She has the decreased speed A1, extra hit on her A2, and the A3 is the defense down. It's a 60%, so it's a nice big one. It's on a 5-turn cooldown natively. They can get down to 4 turns. So she might not be as good as some of the other champions, but again, we're talking farmable rares, and she can help you out. I find it interesting how so many of the defense down characters are in the corrupted subset. So in Dark Elves, this guy's not farmable, but he's kind of cool. And we have Judge, and he can do a couple things to help you in the Force Keep. He has stacking damage for each debuff, so if you are intent on putting a lot of debuffs on the boss, which you should be, I mean, why not? You get a 10% increased damage for each one, which is really cool. We're talking free damage that just stacks on with his attack, which is awesome. His A2 increases his turn meter, which is good. That boss, you can manipulate his turn meter, so that's also a good thing to do. You should always do that when you can. And then his passive is really neat. He has a 30% chance of putting on one of the following debuffs. A decreased accuracy, a decreased speed, a decreased attack, or the big version, the 60% decreased defense for 1 turn. And that just is something he does whenever he hits. So it's a bit chaotic, but, you know, it's called Chaos Armor. What do you expect? But it's fun. Anything that just happens, I love passives, and that's a cool passive to give a shot. And as I was talking about the importance of landing your debuffs to be able to damage the boss effectively, Judge also has a 30 accuracy aura, so that is also beneficial and nice to have. Alright, and if you aren't having a whole lot of luck here, there is, up in the Sacred Order, there's an uncommon called Militia right here. And he's uncommon, so only 2 attacks. One of them is always critical when your target has less than 30% hit points, so it can make the end of a fight go a little bit faster. And the nice 60% decrease defense for 2 turns on his A2. It's on 4 turns, but you can get it down to 3 turns. So that's kind of cool. Again, if it's all you got, you might as well use it. That is actually a very useful, cheap skill to have. Right now, interestingly enough, there are more rare and uncommon debuff removers than there are epic. debuff removers. So we'll just go over the farmable rares for now. And if we go into the high elves and we look for the one high elf that looks like she's enjoying herself, and that's Eris. She has a great kit. Grants an extra turn if a target is killed. And then her A2, this is the one I'm referring to in this context, where she moves at random debuff from all allies. And the boss only places one debuff, so that's the one that's going to be removed. And she has a 60% chance of placing a 30% increased speed on allies for 2 turns. So it's cool that her A2 does 2 awesome things at once. And she has a really cool passive where she counterattacks when any ally is attacked. And she has increased speed in dungeons by 16%. So Eris is phenomenal for the Force Keep. Alright, and now for the Dark Elf counterpart, we have, of course, Spirit Host, who I can't really talk enough about. She was my arena speed lead for forever since I never got an Apothecary or a Haikatoon. I got her first, so I kept her, built her. She was great for that. She's farmable from Durham Forest, and I'm sure everyone knows this already, but she has a great kit. She attacks the enemy, then heals by 50% of the damage inflicted. She increases attack by 50% on all allies for 2 turns on what can be a 3-turn cooldown. Awesome. And she can remove all debuffs on all allies with her A3, and then places a block debuffs on allies for 1 turn after that. And that is a 6-turn cooldown natively, and then get down to 5 turns. She's awesome, and of course I already spoke about her all battles 10% speed aura. So good stuff completely coming in from Spirit Host there. Alright, so thank you so much for coming with me into the Force Keep, seeing what the boss is all about, what we can do to stop him. And if you found that this was something that was really useful for you, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave something in the comments or hit me up on Discord. And if you enjoyed what you saw, throw me a like. Alright guys, this series will continue sometime, so I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, take care. Have a good one.